October 1987, a patch of Oklahoma earth had been disturbed, not enough to attract attention from passing drivers, not enough for anyone to notice from a distance, just a shallow depression in the ground, the kind of place that most people would walk past without a second thought. But beneath that thin layer of dirt lay a secret someone had desperately hoped would never be uncovered. Two sisters. One was 17 years old. The other was 25. Both had vanished after a night at the Oklahoma State Fair. For weeks their families searched, and for weeks they hoped, and for weeks one man kept changing his story. Then the grave was discovered, and what investigators found raised a terrifying possibility. Whoever killed these sisters may never spend a single day in prison. And nearly 40 years later, that fear has become a reality. This is the story of Lisa Pennington and Cheryl Genzer, the case that appears solved, but the prosecution that collapsed, and the shallow grave that still waits for justice. Before they became a cold case, they were just simply sisters. Lisa Pennington was 17 years old, young, energetic, and still standing at the edge of adulthood. Her older sister, Cheryl Genzer, was 25. The two belonged to the Cheyenne Arapaho community in Oklahoma. Family members remember them as close, the kind of sisters who often spent time together, the kind who looked out for each other. Nobody could have imagined that one ordinary September evening would become the last time that anyone would see either woman alive. September 23rd, 1987. The Oklahoma State Fair was in full swing. Thousands of people packed the grounds. Bright lights flashed against the night sky, and music drifted through the air. There was games, food vendors, crowds, families, teenagers, and tourists. The fair was exactly the kind of place where people expected to make memories, not disappear. Yet sometime during that evening, Lisa and Cheryl vanished. Nobody knew it at the time. No alarm sounded. No frantic search began that night, because nobody knew that the sisters would never come home. As concern grew, investigators began retracing the sisters' final known moments, and very quickly they arrived at an important lead. Witnesses reported that Lisa and Cheryl had been with a man named Lane Henley. Another man had reportedly been with them as well. At first, this lead appeared promising. After all, the last people to see someone alive often provide the answers that investigators need. But instead, the story became more confusing. According to court records, Lisa and Cheryl's father actually spoke with Lane Henley before filing a missing persons report. The conversation would later become one of the most troubling details in the entire case. Henley reportedly claimed the sisters came to his residence because they needed to use the telephone. According to him, they contacted someone to pick them up. Simple enough. Except the story didn't stay simple. Henley allegedly told Mr. Pennington that after using the phone, the sisters left. They supposedly walked to a nearby 7-Eleven to use another telephone. But as the conversation continued, details began changing. Timelines shifted. Explanations changed. The account became inconsistent. And every time investigators encounter changing stories from the last known witness, alarm bells began ringing. Because innocent people usually forget details, but people hiding something often change facts. Investigators took notice, and they kept digging. Weeks passed, the search continued, and then came the discovery that every family fears. In October of 1987, the sisters were found, not alive, not rescued, not waiting somewhere to be brought home. They were buried in a shallow grave. The scene immediately told investigators that something was horrifying. This had not been a spontaneous act of violence. Someone had taken time to hide them. Someone had believed this grave would never be found. The autopsies revealed another disturbing detail. Lisa and Cheryl had both been shot in the head, but not with the same weapon. Different caliber firearms had been used. To investigators, that detail stood out immediately because it suggested there was more than one shooter, or at minimum, more than one person involved. And suddenly the possibility emerged that this wasn't the work of a lone killer. It might have been a team. 2 women, 2 guns, 2 suspects, in a shallow grave. The pieces seemed to be lining up. Not long after the bodies were discovered, authorities made a dramatic move. Lane Henley fled. Eventually, he was located in Mexico. For investigators, that fact alone raised suspicions. People run for many reasons, but innocent people rarely flee across the international borders when the police want answers. Henley was arrested and then extradited back to Oklahoma. Murder charges. To many observers, it appeared the case was headed toward justice. Investigators believed they had their man. The family finally appeared to be getting some answers, but then the prosecution entered dangerous territory, a place where facts can become blurred, evidence can become challenged, and an entire case can collapse. The courtroom. The state's case relied heavily upon forensic evidence that prosecutors believed linked Henley to the murders. But years later, serious questions emerged. At the center of those questions was forensic chemist Joyce Gilchrist. Gilchrist worked numerous Oklahoma cases during the 80s and 90s. Over time, defense attorneys, courts, and independent reviews began identifying troubling problems in some of her forensic work. Case after case became under scrutiny, and questions were raised about methods. Questions were raised about conclusions, and questions were raised about reliability, and eventually those questions reached the murders of Lisa and Cheryl. As confidence in the forensic evidence weakened, the prosecution's case weakened with it, and by 1992, the state requested dismissal of all charges against Lane Henley, and just like that, the murder case was gone. No trial or conviction, no justice. The sisters were still dead, but the legal case had effectively disappeared. Investigators reportedly believed that there were 2 killers, yet only one man had ever faced murder charges, and the second man remained in the shadows. His name appeared in court records. His connection to the investigation remained significant, but the murder charges never came. Then came another strange twist. In April of 1992, the man was charged with perjury connected to the case against Henley. Perjury, not murder, not accessory, not conspiracy. Perjury. And he pleaded guilty. For many observers, that raises an obvious question. What exactly did he lie about, and why? Those answers remain frustratingly incomplete, but what is clear is this. A man connected to a double homicide admitted lying, yet nobody was convicted of killing Lisa or Cheryl. Perhaps the saddest chapter belongs to the family. Lisa and Cheryl's parents spent years hoping, years waiting, years believing answers might finally come. Court hearings came and went. Investigations stalled, and suspects aged. Evidence grew older. Witness memories faded, and justice never arrived. Both parents eventually died, neither living long enough to see accountability for the murders of their daughters. And that reality echoes across countless indigenous cold cases. Families spend decades carrying grief while the people responsible continue to live their lives. Most cold cases slowly disappear, and this one refused to. Advocates continued speaking, families continued pushing. The Cheyenne Arapaho community continued remembering. And nearly 4 decades after the murders, something remarkable happened. The names Lisa Pennington and Cheryl Ginzer helped inspire new legislation. In 2026, Oklahoma passed Senate Bill 1636. The law was designed to strengthen cold case reviews and create new opportunities for families seeking answers. In a strange way, the sisters accomplished something after death that they had been denied in life. They forced people to keep looking, to keep asking questions, to keep demanding accountability. Tonight, somewhere in Oklahoma, there may be still someone who knows exactly what happened after the affair ended. Someone who knows why 2 sisters never came home. Someone who knows who dug that shallow grave. This is the case of Lisa Pennington and Cheryl Ginzer. So what do you guys think? This one just makes me so angry that nobody was, arrested. Nobody was arrested and there's no justice yet. Makes me so mad when they don't get their justice. So let's keep their names out there. Say their names. Lisa Pennington, Cheryl Ginzer. Thanks, guys. Sorry about this background noise. It's summertime and I have no office, so I'm doing the best I can, but the main thing is to be getting these cases out there. So I'll see you next time on Cold Case Cassie.